The top 10 mistakes that people over the age of 60 make when it comes to their health and well-being. We are going to talk as three doctors who see these mistakes all the time, and we don't want you to make these mistakes. So we will go over them one by one. And for anybody who enjoys our discussions, do check in the link down below for our separate. Did I nearly whack you there, Dr. Peter? As I said that, I'm so enthusiastic about our new channel, Doctors of Ojais channel. Check it out down below, where we post a lot more exclusive discussions all related to your health and well-being. All right, Dr. Ben, do you want to get us started?
I do indeed. This is a great topic, I think. And this is a really big issue. The one I'm going to talk to you about is dietary fads. You guys have probably run into this yourselves. You've probably heard advertisements for all kinds of wild dietary fads. There are various people out there, some of them doctors, some of them nutritionists, but they'll have these really unsustainable ways that you can diet and lose weight. The biggest problem with them is, like I said, they're unsustainable. So what'll happen is you'll get on this track, you might lose weight, you might feel better for a while, but there's a lot of nutrition missing with these diets, and they end up becoming very inappropriate. You end up abandoning them. And then people not only feel bad that they couldn't stay on the diet, but they end up a lot of the time poorer for it.
Absolutely. I couldn't say it better. And it's really what it comes down to. A lot of these diets don't focus enough on lean muscle mass. And what happens is a lot of people do these diets, and there's a lot of ketogenic diets, which do have their own benefits, but you're really limiting yourself and what you're taking in for protein. And so what happens is someone will lose weight. And we see this a lot now with the GLP-1s, which I do think is a dietary fad, and a lot of bad stuff is coming from this, is that people who have a normal metabolism or a slower metabolism are put on these diets and they lose muscle mass, and they also lose fat. So weight goes down because weight, we know, weighs more than fat. And then what happens when it's time to come off it, now you have less muscle mass than you started with, and muscles are really what burn calories. And so I think that's a huge problem with these diets. So your metabolism is even worse than when you started before.
Yeah. GLP-1s, we'll have to dedicate a separate podcast to those and effects now that millions of people are on them. But I completely agree, Dr. Ben. When it comes to diet, I know that a lot of you watching are all about common sense, and you understand that the best methods out there are the ones which have stood the test of time. Simple common sense, eat whole foods, practice moderation. So yeah, dietary fads, never a good thing, and they are called fads for a reason. And sadly, modern mainstream culture, everything is exacerbated, pushed even more with this 24/7 social media, screen time, and people jump on a bandwagon, ends up not being good. All right, Dr. Peter, you want to go next?
Sleep. I think sleep is so underrated, and most people don't understand the importance of sleep, is maybe because we don't understand the biochemistry behind it and how important sleep is. So sleep is really the time when your body shuts down and repairs inflammation. And we do know that chronic inflammation tears through your body. And so if you're not letting your body shut down and able to repair that amount of inflammation going on, it just wreaks havoc.
Yeah, that's right. And I find sleep can be a problem for many different reasons. Of course, it's a problem at any age. A lot of younger people struggle with modern day demands and they're not sleeping. But over the age of 60, obviously the majority of our patients are over the age of 65 who aren't sleeping for a variety of reasons. Maybe their body hasn't been exerted enough during the day. Maybe they've napped during the day. Maybe they've just kind of got into a suboptimal pattern. Hopefully that's not any of you. But the most important thing to remember is sleep is when your body heals, regenerates. Who has not had the experience of being totally exhausted and you have a good night's sleep and you just feel $1 million afterwards, right?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's when we start to see things like cognitive decline. We start seeing things like increased anxiety, depression. I mean, a lot of these conditions are exacerbated by the fact that people aren't sleeping well. As a matter of fact, I have not slept well recently, and you can probably tell I sound horrible. And that's probably why. So, sleep is absolutely vital.
It's so vital. You know what's a crazy statistic is that people who have multiple nightmares during the week are actually increased risk of heart disease in people who are obese or even actually smokers. And it just shows you it's that chronic cortisol, stress, inflammation. Your body's in this like heightened state of demand nonstop. And really like ways to get better sleep is don't look at the screen, alcohol. People think it helps you sleep, it totally disrupts sleep patterns. Try it,
especially if it's excessive.
Excessive alcohol, you feel like it's a quick fix, but it guarantees you it will spike cortisol. You have that early morning awakening or when you wake up in the middle of the night, or you just don't get that deep, deep sleep. But statistics are crazy about how your body reacts to lack of sleep. And we do know that less than 6 hours of sleep puts people at risk for heart disease.
It does, yeah. Sweet spot for most people, according to studies, 6.5 to 8.5 hours. I'm sorry, Dr. Ben, that you're feeling tired and haven't got sleep. We will make sure that Dr. Ben gets a good sleep tonight. Usually, if I talk to him afterwards about my thoughts on medicine and go off on my spiel, that's usually enough to put Dr. Ben to
That'll
sleep.
do it.
So
That will do
we'll
it.
make sure we need him
Melatonin.
well rested for you.
And
Yeah,
melatonin.
melatonin as well, magnesium. So sleep, yeah, that's a really good one. Okay, why don't I go next then? Very common mistake people over the age of 60 make is not engaging in strength training. And I will say this till the end of my career, that this is the single most important thing that I see people not doing. And I'm going to be very frank and honest with everybody watching. I want to ask, what is your excuse? I'm speaking with empathy and compassion because I have seen people in wheelchairs with the most terrible illnesses still insist on doing some light dumbbell exercises. This is not about becoming a bodybuilder or becoming very jacked. It is about maintaining muscle mass and the benefits of doing so, which we touched on just now in terms of muscle being metabolically active. It's not just about the fact that you have strength and you feel physically and mentally stronger. It's that that tissue is very physiologically active and elevates your metabolic health. So even if you do 20 minutes 3 times a week, I'd rather you were doing an hour a day, at least of exercise with strength training in that. But if you can't do that, 20 minutes 3 times a week. And if you're retired, I will ask you gently, what is your excuse for not doing that? Because it is a wonderful time investment to engage in some strength training. Buy a pair of light dumbbells, doesn't have to be heavy, and just keep your muscles strong. It will really benefit you with each passing year.
It's so true. So your muscles essentially is a metabolic organ. It is what drives metabolism, and it drives retention of just muscle mass. Also helps you prevent you from falling. And we know that falling is a key predictor of longevity and reducing falls and reducing injury from falls. Also, by keeping your lean muscle mass, you're also avoiding things like spiking in your blood sugar as well. And insulin resistance really, really is a big factor in this.
Yeah, the amount of times actually in the hospital when I've seen people fall, and I've seen people who are, say, 75, 80, and they tell me that they used to work out, engage in strength training, they have far better outcomes than the people who don't. We see that all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the biggest hurdle is getting started, right? So you have no idea where to begin. The beautiful thing is there's a lot of research you can do online. There's a lot of people you can listen to. You can learn basic things. You can even start in your house. If you live where we live and it's freezing outside, you're probably going to have to do this inside. But just getting started is very, very important, and not hurting yourself right away, right? So starting with kind of basic, low impact, low strength exercise things that you can build up as time goes on.
Yeah, just start with something very simple. You can go to the search bar after you watch our video on YouTube and search simple weight exercises or routine for over 65s, and you will get a ton of videos depending on whether you're a gentleman or a lady, what stage you're at. It will give you a good workout video that you can follow along with.
Absolutely. It's consistency is more important than intensity.
Yeah.
Just doing it regularly. A lot of people do a hard workout and don't do it for days, but do a lighter workout and just do it more days during the week.
That's right. All right, Dr. Ben, what's next on the list?
You know, one of the big mistakes I see people making, and this is patients and doctors, is never questioning the medications that you're on and allowing them to just continue to be prescribed to you without questioning for months, years, decades. Why am I on this? Do I still need to be on this? Is this still good for me, given what's happened to me over the years? And it just becomes this cycle where you continue to be on these medications. You don't question, your doctor adds more medications. And next thing you know, you're on 10, 15, 20, and they're all interacting with each other, and they may be causing you to feel awfully, you don't know. But every single time you see your doctor, or every time you're put on a new medication, you should always be questioning, why am I on this medication? You should always be asking, is there a way to get off? And that's a really important thing, and a mistake I see a lot of people make.
So true. I always feel like people think as you get older that the natural process of aging is increasing medications. And I think that's just horrible that that's what we've let patients to believe on. And it's so far from the fact. And it's almost a surprise now, or a doctor may make a comment on it if you're not on any medications and be surprised, right?
It is. Yeah, it's very sad. So many millions of people out there get put on medications, and we could run the list: blood pressure, cholesterol, antidepressants, medicines for reflux, and then it becomes a life sentence. And in my mind, at least when I applied to medical school, that is not how things are meant to be. People get sick, supposed to be a temporary prescription, and then that's it. You're back to health. But now we've got this whole chronic disease model. So I completely agree. Really vital. Question every medication and ask your doctor for an escape plan. When can I come off it? Now, any doctor worth their salt would love that question. I would absolutely relish it if somebody asked me, what's the escape route out of this medication? But sadly, our culture is not there. But we know that you're different. By the way, if you're enjoying what we're talking about and have any other stories to share, comment down below. We really like hearing from you. Also, if you have any topics for future videos that you would like us to cover. So that was, what was it? Number 4, I think. So we're on number 5 now out of 10. Dr. Peter.
Hydration. And I do think that on any given day, 95 at least percent of my patients are dehydrated. A lot of times without knowing it. A lot of times they've gone through different studies or they've been to the emergency room with things like dizziness or recurrent lightheadedness. And what it comes down to is this: most people don't push fluids during the day. And it's so important because as you get older too, your volume of distribution of how medications are distributed to your body gets more concentrated. And if you're not taking the fluids in, you amplify the side effects, increases risk of falls, urinary tract infections, confusion. I mean, there's lots of different things. It's better for your kidneys. Most organs are better if they're hydrated. And I think that people just don't realize the importance of it. And I understand people don't want to drink a lot of fluid because they don't want to get up and go to the bathroom at night, which is a tough balance. But I think if you just front load yourself at about 4 hours before bedtime to stop drinking, you'll do actually really well.
Yeah. Dehydration, it's everywhere. I often get asked actually in the hospital by people, often their spouses actually. The most common scenario I get is people's wives will ask, how much fluid should my husband be drinking every day? Because they know they're not drinking very much. So there's really no answer. It's how long is a piece of string. But as a general rule, I would say several glasses a day, if you can go for that. Ideally water, if you don't like the taste of water, add some lemon to it to improve the taste. I would say tea counts. We're drinking our organic chai here, but I do believe that tea counts. I drink 3 usually cups of tea a day. It is technically hydration. I know there's a debate because there's a small amount of caffeine in it, but it doesn't dehydrate you overall. You still get a net benefit, but ideally water is the best one. So thank you for that.
Yeah. No, I think it's important to highlight the fact that water is great, but you just want to be careful about not drinking too much water in a sense. So you want to have water with electrolytes, or if you have a good hydration powder that's out that you like, that doesn't have like a lot of coloring or a lot of like sugar in it, is really helpful in just keeping up with hydration and stuff.
Exactly. Okay, everyone, I'm going to interrupt that awesome discussion for a moment. This is the really boring part where I tell you all about our expanding natural health and well-being store. So I will cut right to the chase. Check in the links down below. ohighwellness.com if you're in the USA, North America. ohighwellness.co if you're in the UK, Europe. As somebody who has taken natural supplements for my whole life, it has been a pleasure to work with a great team, formulating unique products, covering basically every body system, ranging from immune support, bone support, memory support, heart support, sleep support. We also have an expanding range of food and beverage products. Check out our protein thin snack, and we are expanding on our wellness teas. We've especially had some awesome reviews for our organic chai mix. All those links down below. Okay, back to the discussion.
I think hydration is absolutely vital. There are so many patients I have coming into the office that are getting lightheaded all the time, that are passing out, and it's a hydration issue. And some of the big ways to tell that you're dehydrated, you go to the bathroom and you pee and it's dark. So if it's very dark, that likely means you're not hydrated enough. Or you stand up and you get lightheaded. That's called orthostatic hypotension. That means you really don't have enough fluid in your body to get up to your brain and you really feel like you're going to pass out. So those are signs that you're really, really dehydrated. There's another one where you can pinch your skin like this and you see if it goes right back down. If it kind of stays up for too long, that can be a problem. That can mean you're quite dehydrated. So these are ways to check yourself. I agree with hydration powders. I meet so many people that are like, drinking water's a chore. It's so annoying. I don't like doing it. But hydration powders, they taste good. They have electrolytes and they balance out a little better. So I do think they're excellent. And we actually will be coming out with a hydration powder shortly. So look out for that.
Super excited.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
gonna be
We're
big.
huge believers in hydration and electrolytes. So let me go next. Over-reliance on the system. I find this particularly a problem in over 60s, over 65s. And let me expand on this. You grew up, if you're above a certain age, at a time where healthcare was very different. Healthcare's always had its issues, but you probably grew up in the days of the good old-fashioned community doctor who came to your house with a bag and they wrote a brief note. They weren't keen to prescribe medications. They knew you, the family, the community. Those days have sadly long gone. Absolutely terrible. I don't think we're going to get those days back. That's why if you find a good doctor, hold on to that doctor, a doctor with common sense who's holistic. But it's a mistake to rely on the system. Know this. I don't think that doctors are bad people. I think a lot of doctors are stuck in a suboptimal system. I mean, you take the United States, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, coming out of medical school, essentially in servitude, following protocols, a system that has multiple conflicts of interest. I really think that you are in big, big trouble if you think that the system is going to make you well. Fair enough. Hopefully, if there's ever an emergency, this is one thing the US is second to none on, fixing an acute emergency. If you're in a life-threatening situation, you are more likely to be saved than anywhere else. And we're all immensely proud of that, to practice in that type of environment where we can deal with emergencies quickly compared to almost any other country. But chronic disease management, thinking that the system is going to work for you when you may need it, and also thinking that you have to stay within the system. There's other things you can do to think outside the box. If things are not working out for you, seek a doctor who's not in the system. Go and get your lab tests or imaging done outside of the system. It's a free country. So I would say that's a big pitfall. If you think that you need to rely on the system, it's setting you up for failure.
I think people are realizing this every single day. When's the last time you've tried to get a hold of your primary care physician for something that is going on that you need to be seen for, and you're told that you have an extremely amount of weight, or they can't get you an hour, or they don't return your phone call? And that goes with specialists too. And I think that it's just getting worse and worse, and people get sent to the emergency room. So it's really a system that's not focused anymore on continuity of care. It's really a system based on urgent care, where things are left and people can't get seen until it becomes an acute issue. And that's really unfortunate.
I completely agree. It's not only that. I mean, you're working within a broken system, but it's more than that. There's very little in life that if you don't take any ownership of something, if you don't actually take control of it, that things are going to work out really well. Yes, we become reliant on multiple things, but really important things in life, you should take ownership of. And once you do that and you care and you're doing research and you're trying to work on these things, they tend to get better. I mean, if you're trying and you're doing the work, you've got such a better chance than somebody who's just waiting for someone else to fix things for you.
Yep, that's right. All right, Dr. Ben, you want to go next?
Yes. One of the big mistakes I think that can happen as you get older is you stop taking any risks. And I don't mean, jumping on planes or really crazy risks. I'm talking about you get really stuck in routines and you don't take risks like, I really want to travel, but I'm nervous about it, so I don't do it. And I think that's a big mistake, because what I'll see is people really kind of get trapped and stuck, and they end up being very unhappy about it. And they get too nervous to go to some function that they really want to go to, or see some family member they really want to go to, or again, travel, which I think is a wonderful thing to do. I think you can learn a ton doing it. And that's one mistake I see. And then if you do it too long, it can be such a big barrier to begin to take risks anymore that, people stop doing it. And I think that's a shame.
But doesn't that kind of tie in with socialization as a longevity marker, where we know that people do better when they socialize with each other? And I think that you're right. I mean, the less you do, the less you'll be inclined to do. And people get afraid if they're not doing things all the time. And I do think that's such an important part.
It is, yeah. And it's true at any age. Your growth occurs outside of your comfort zone. And I see that as well. Unfortunately, people above a certain age can be more prone to becoming a bit of a curmudgeon, becoming a bit negative. If you're in the UK, a bit of a Victor Meldrew. That's a joke for people in the UK. You guys have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, Victor Meldrew If you know who Victor Meldrew is, comment down below. I'd be so happy to see that comment. But yeah, you want to, at all stages of life, be doing things new. And this is also really good for the brain as well. Learn a new hobby. I always say if you're over the age of 65, be able to say, I know this now, this new skill, which I didn't know 6 months ago. It's really good for your brain. And a lot of that comes with risk taking. You can get stuck with your comfortable environment. Hopefully you've got a nice house, your mortgage is paid off, your children are grown up. But that doesn't mean you need to live a life of extreme comfort. I get the feeling that most of you watching probably don't do that anyway. So, Dr. Peter, what have you got for us?
And that ties in the next thing I want to talk about is probably what more people are more and more worried about, even probably more so than having a heart attack or heart disease, is cognitive decline. And I think people think that this is just an unavoidable and natural process of aging. And there are some situations where it does progress, but there are so many things that you can do now proactively as opposed to reactively. And I think a lot of people don't seek attention to it until you notice it or a loved one notices it. But I do think that being proactive and getting that sleep, we know that sleep, we talked about earlier, is just so important for cognitive health, reducing inflammation. These are all just key factors, eating healthy and well. These are things you can do now to really minimize or avoid cognitive decline later in life.
Also medications, right? So we were just talking about that with multiple medications. If they're interacting, some of these medications, their side effects are that they can cause early cognitive decline. So you should be looking out for that. And if you really don't need to be on something, you should be questioning it because it can lead to this kind of situation.
Like Benadryl. Benadryl is an often thing that people take to help sleep, or it's in some sleep aids, and it just has been shown to cause cognitive decline, just foggy headedness.
Or blood pressure, which is overtreated. I mean, a whole multitude of them. All right. I will go next. What are we on? I think we're on number 9 now. So I will say staying indoors is a big, big problem. I can't tell you the number of times in the hospital, I often routinely check vitamin D levels. I wish more doctors actually did this because vitamin D is so crucial for immune and metabolic health. Is it vitamin or vitamin, by the way?
It might be vitamin.
No, to me, it's always vitamin D. I check it, and often, and a typical scenario I get is a lady over the age of 80. It will be in the single digits, like really low, and you want a bare minimum of 30, bare minimum. Often higher is desirable, but I will check it and it'll be like 8 or 9. And that's because a lot of people, when they get older, this happens, especially in colder climates, will just be indoors all the time, basically, and having that typical sort of tea and toast diet. And being outdoors is not talked about enough because we're built to be outdoor creatures. And modern life is mainly indoors for many people, but the sun is the root of all of our energy. Think about it. Everything on Earth that is living gets its initial energy from the sun. Sun goes to plants, etc. And we have a certain affinity for the sun, which often we don't realize. When you get outdoors, even if it's cloudy, just getting sunlight produces changes in the brain, dopamine, serotonin. It results in a mood boost and also an elevation of metabolic health and immunity. So this is why most people in colder climates of any age end up needing to supplement with vitamin D during the winter. Very good idea. And it's sad, really, because there are many people out there, the medical profession doesn't push this as much as they should, who have poorer health in the winter, their mood is affected, and it's directly related to vitamin D being low, and then they're more prone to infections, but it all hinges on just being indoors too much. So I say, even when it's cold, if you can get outdoors for a little bit, let some natural light touch your skin. Don't be inside too much.
I couldn't agree more. It really helps with your circadian rhythm, which we talked about, helps with sleep, which really, really helps reduce inflammation, which really is a final common pathway for a lot of these disease states. And I do think that's so important. We know that people who go outside or have exposures to cold temperature intermittently have improved hormetic stress, which is essentially training your body to respond to stress and then respond and recover from it quickly. We've been showing that that also improves immune health, because I don't think immune health and when people get sick happens overnight. And I'm not a strong believer that people walk by someone and catch a bug from someone. It's this setup of how you've been living the month before. that lowers your immune system. And it's that setup, the 30 days of how you have been before is what sets you up for an illness, not just catching it from someone.
That's true.
I completely agree with you. And don't forget physical activity. If you're going outside, the odds that you're being more physically active, that you're walking are much higher. I mean, if you're sitting in the house, you're very likely to be far more sedentary. So getting outside, I think, is absolutely vital.
Yeah. All right. Final one then. Dr. Ben, you're going to finish us off here.
Negative thinking. So I talk a lot about the importance of positive thinking. So let's go to the opposite of that, negative thinking. That's a big mistake. Now, how does it happen? Well, if you are interacting with people every day that are very negative and pessimistic and kind of bringing you down and talking about how it's all falling apart, that's going to affect you. And it's going to make you, if you can't put that in the right place, that's going to start to bring you down. If you're watching the news, the media constantly, and they're filling you with these bad ideas about how it's all doomed, the world is doomed, the country's doomed, you're going to start to feel that and you're going to start to become more and more pessimistic. So it's not necessarily just about avoiding these things. It's about being able to put them in the right place and to actively try to see the bright side of things and try to have a positive perspective. And if you can do that, I've seen people do it and be successful. It really makes you happier and healthier. So it is an important thing to actively work to do.
Absolutely. We know that misery loves company. And so the more you improve in that aspect, you'll be surprised on the attitudes that people have towards you, the friends that you make, and just the experiences that you can miss if you're not just open-minded about just being happier. And it really just improves your metabolic health, which really comes down to everything. If you don't have your health, what is it?
Exactly. And this doesn't mean being unrealistically optimistic. It means that if you are overly pessimistic, then not only is that bad for yourself, research backs that up. People who are pessimistic or inclined that way tend to do worse with their health, but it's also not good for the people around you. I've never met anybody who enjoys being around a pessimistic person. And you would be surprised if you are inclined this way. The brain is very what we call plastic. There's neuroplasticity. There are people out there who viewed the world in a negative way, and they changed that through gratitude practices, through switching off from the mainstream media, realizing that everything is not all doom and gloom. It's not easy. Of course, we know a lot of times a leopard doesn't change its spots, and people are inclined to some way and stay that way. But we assume that you're watching because you want the best possible health and well-being. And we want that for you as well. And that is an absolutely huge one. Thank you for saying that. Just try, if you can, to see the good and the fact that life is very short. We've got limited time on this planet, and it's important to make the most of it and try to do everything we can good and with a positive outlook, good for us and good for others. Okay, then. Closing statements then, Dr. Peter.
Well, the concept of consistency over intensity has really played a lot through my life, and I couldn't recommend it more. And nothing we've talked about today has to be intensely done. Just get better sleep, eat better, work out just a little bit more, socialize more. It's nothing that anyone really can't do, but just do it consistently.
Yeah.
It's never too late to start. Today is the best day that you can start doing these things. And Peter's absolutely right. Start slow, be consistent, and I promise you, you'll see a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I would say the best time for you to have started all of these things was yesterday, but the second best day is today. We want the very best of health for you. We know that you are suffering right now. Many of you see the flaws in our system. You are trying to find good doctors, very difficult to find. You want to take ownership of your health. That's why you're here. But everybody needs a reminder. And I'm sure there are at least one or two of those 10 things that apply to you. Keep going. And I like what you said, Dr. Peter, about the small steps adding up over time. They really do, compounding very fast in health. Every time you decide to walk instead of stay still, go outdoors, opt for a better meal, socialize, get up instead of staying inside, all of these things really help with time. So we are wishing you the very best. We hope you enjoyed this discussion. Do check in the links down below for our natural health and well-being store. We have an array of products to help you on your wellness journey, including a range of supplements. And we've mentioned the hydration powder coming soon, and we have our organic chai as well. Everything uniquely formulated based on compounds that we believe in. So do check those out down below. We're excited to be expanding that. ohighwellness.com if you're in the USA, North America. ohighwellness.co in the UK if you're in Ireland or mainland Europe. ohighwellness.ie. Keep going, everyone, and we will speak again very soon.